Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Deidre Anderson and I'm an adult contemporary romance author. In this little space of the internet, I try to talk about all things writing, all things my journey, and things that can help you along your writing journey. So if that sounds like something that you would be interested in hearing about or learning about with us, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Ding that notification bell so that you can be notified every time that I upload a video and that you can be a part of our little community. So today it's going to be a more romance centric video, and it will be for the completion of this particular series. It's basically discussing romance tropes, talking about what they are and going through some of them, explaining and giving some examples for people that want to write romance. Maybe you're just getting started in romance, maybe you're looking for some new ideas about what to write, and you want to learn about some tropes. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, stick around and we'll get started. Okay, so there are 57 different tropes on the list that I have. So I'm going to be going through them about 5 or 6 at a time in each video. So if you don't hear one of the tropes that you really like in this one, don't worry, come back again next week and you may see the one that you like. Alright, so I'll try to release the videos on either Wednesdays or Thursdays each week so that you can expect the video. Alright, so before we dive in, let's tell you what a trope is. So for those who are completely new, a trope is essentially an overarching theme that you write throughout your book, or a plot device that's used to gather some reader's attention. Alright, so it's like it's there you as we go through, you basically, it's sort of hard to explain outside of that, but as we go through, you'll be able to easily identify them, whether you're watching a romance movie, reading a romance novel, or even other novels that have romantic subplots. You may see some of these common recurring themes in the book or TV show. So let's get started. We're going in alphabetical order, so you may be able to preempt what's coming. But the first one on my list is, if you see me looking down, it's because I am reading from my tablet. So let's get started. So the first one is alpha hero. Now, in the past couple of months or years, maybe last year or so, alpha heroes has really boomed, right? It's really been on trend. So the alpha hero is essentially a type A type of hero, right? He's driven, he's in control of the world, of the people around him. He gives off a very dominant persona, right? And he's typically like an alpha hole most times to everyone else around him, except for your heroine, except for your protagonist, your love interest. All right, so he's an alpha hole to everyone else around him, except for when it comes to your protagonist. So this trope can either go really bad or be really done well. When it's really bad, you don't want the reader to hate your hero. You want them to still like, someone doesn't have to be nice to be likable. So you want them to still be likable, but you want to give that dominant persona. You want everyone to know that as soon as they're in his presence, he's the one in charge. He gives off an aura that, hey, don't mess with me. This is essentially what the alpha hole is, except for your hero, your heroine. Your heroine, for some reason, regardless of how hard he tries, she or he or they can get into his aura. They can break through his walls. They can just get to see that part of him that is generally kept reserved for him or very, very, very close individuals, right? So that's the alpha hero, or you may hear alpha hole or alpha male. That's that trope. All right, so that was the first one on the list. The second one for today is Amnesia. Come on, Amnesia has been around for all times. Think of 50 First Dates. If anyone, is mostly seen in the rom-com scene where the protagonist, one of our protagonists, they go through a traumatic event that causes them to lose their memory. This could be long-term. This could be a temporary scenario, but either way, or hero or heroine, the person that's left on the other side of this, it spends the whole plot trying to basically help the hero get along, either to remember their memories. Maybe they were together before the traumatic incident and they don't remember them at all, so they have to reintroduce themselves and get them to fall in love with them all over again. Or maybe they didn't know each other, but then they're a nurse or they're a doctor, so they're helping them to get better, and in the path of trying to help them get better, they develop feelings for them. Maybe they, or I've seen it done in the reverse in a book that I read recently. I do not remember the author's name, but it was called The Best Man, I think it was. But that was done, they flipped it on its head, where the person, the hero, was in a traumatic incident, but instead of losing all the pieces of his memory, he lost his memory, but he regained it when he came out of the coma with additional memories. So he saw vivid dreams of the person he thought was his soulmate, his wife, with kids. He saw a life that did not exist before the traumatic incident, and he spent the whole plot basically half of the plot searching for this person, because everyone else thinking he's gone, right? He's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs because he was never married. He didn't even like the idea of relationships or want to be married. So everyone is looking at him like he's crazy, but he knows what he saw while he was in that coma, and he's going all out to find this person. When he finally finds this person, I won't give away the plot of that specific story, but when you finally find this person, that's a whole different plot device, right? They can be with someone else. They can be completely out of your range or out of your league. So it's something to have fun with. So that is the amnesia trope. Then you have arranged marriage. Now, this is one that's used in both historical, contemporary, rom-com. It's used frequently, right? The arranged marriage, or it's not to be confused with forced marriage, because forced marriage is a completely different trope. We'll explain that when we get there on that video. But the arranged marriage, we see it in Mafia a lot as well. It's basically where our protagonists are told that they're going to be married. Maybe they're set up by a relative or a friend, or it can also be confused with mail order brides sometimes as well, but that's also a different trope. But it's basically that the arrangements are made outside of the protagonist's control, but eventually they decide to do it on their own. So they decide to go through with it. They're given the option of, hey, you have to go through with it or not, and they decide to go through with it for their benefit. So it could be that they basically have to save their business, or so in one of my books, the Will Trodam, I have my protagonist's father passing away, and he's telling them in his will that, hey, in order for you to keep getting my money to gain your inheritance, you have to marry this person. So the father actually basically in this case is arranging the marriage for his son and or second protagonist, right? So that's what I mean. So someone else outside of the protagonist are setting them up. Now, it's not that they're being forced to. They have a choice. They don't have to do it or die. It's not a different trope entirely. But someone else is setting them up, and they decide if they want to go with it or not. Chances are they resisted at first, but still end up thinking that, okay, the best move to do is to go ahead and proceed with this marriage. So that's the arranged marriage trope. All right, next on our list, and that was what, 3? Okay, so we'll discuss 2 more, and then we'll pick up next week. So the next on our list is athlete. Now, sports romance are a big thing. It's a whole genre on some of the platforms like Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So it's an athlete. in your story. It's not like just a side character, but that's the main drive of the story. So if you're using this trope, then your protagonist would be the athlete. It could be essentially that they're a football player or a hockey player. You pick your sport, you go with it. But them being an athlete drives the plot. They're not just an athlete sit for show, and you never show them like working out or actually training for it. So you have to keep in mind that you want it to make sense, right? You don't just throw the trope in there to have it in there. So you want it to make sense. So if they're a football player, for example, then you show them, maybe you mention, you don't have to actually show them in the match playing unless that's something you want to do. But you want to be sure that they're living a life of an athlete. They're eating healthy, they're working out, they are essentially talking about being on the green if they're a football player, or being on the court if they're a basketball player, the ice if they're a hockey player. They need to know the language, right? They need to know the lingo of the sport you choose, and they need to live the life that's reminiscent of an athlete to make it believable. All right, and so the last trope we'll discuss today is the best friend sibling. All right, so you could be your brother's best friend, or your sister's best friend, just any sibling at all, your brother, your sister, your stepbrother, your stepsister, maybe their best friend, maybe they grew up around you but you were a kid, or you as in the protagonist, maybe the protagonist was a child while they were growing up, and so they weren't looking at them like that. But as they've progressed, they've gotten older, they've started to get, they went through puberty, they got muscles, they got muscular, they got the biceps, and the females got the parts that the hero likes to see. And so they started getting attracted to them. They start seeing them in a whole different light. But because they grew up around each other, they start having guilt. They start saying, oh, my best friend would kill me. Because no matter how old you get, your siblings will always be protective of you, especially if it's a friend of theirs that they see going around being a player and doing other things to other females or males and confiding in them, right? So that's basically what that trope is about. It's about all of this creates tension, right? So it's about the tension that it has. It, regardless of how steamy your romance novel will be, or your romance subplot will be, there'll be tension, whether that's emotional tension or sexual tension or just tension. As maybe they're always bickering, they're always arguing because they're trying to fight that attraction, because they feel that it's taboo or forbidden, right? So that's what the sibling's best friend trope is. Now, again, there are 57 tropes on my list, right? That was the first 5. So I hope that broke it down a little bit to help you understand. I have a whole lot more to talk about. I know that friends to lovers and enemies to lovers are some of the favorites in the romance community, and we will get to them. So if that's something that you want to hear about, you want to learn about, if you're new to writing romance, or if you're just trying to expand your ideas of tropes, then stay tuned. I will be trying to go ahead and put out these trope videos either Wednesday or Thursday each week, depending on my schedule, but you will have it by at least Wednesday or Thursday each week. And then by Friday, you will have that Freakishly Techish Fridays video. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button below and hit that like button so I know that you like the content that I'm putting out and that you are supporting me on my journey. Again, for those who are new here, I'm Deidre Anderson. I am a contemporary adult romance author. I do have books currently in KU, and they'll probably stay in KU, and any new book that I put out will be pushing wide. So bear that in mind. If you read on other platforms, you will have books eventually in the future from me. All right, so go ahead and hit that like button. Let me know in the comments if these tropes were new to you, if you knew about them before. Did I miss something about these particular tropes? Let me know below. Share the knowledge so that we can all learn. All right, until next time. Bye, guys.